Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast with your host, Tracy Hayes. Another best of the best on the show today. She's originally from Michigan, but has lived here in St. Augustine for over 17 years. She has just listed a $10.3 million listing, which is breaking records here. You must be a qualified buyer, however, to see it. She has done over $20 million in real estate just in the last 10 months. She is on fire. She is in her groove. Let's find out from one of the best what it takes to be successful. Let's welcome the Bern of Ingalls and Volkers, Jacksonville, Bernadette Grandinetti, to the show.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. I always try to add a little.
I like that.
You like that? The Bern.
I need to figure out how to incorporate that.
So I know you were spying on my questions here early. So you're from Michigan, grew up there, but you went to Ohio State. Isn't that like? Oh my gosh. That's like a sin, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So when I made the decision to go to the Ohio State University, my family was not the happiest, to say the least. I think they were more surprised than anything. You know, we are brought up to be, go green, Sparties or Wolverines.
Right,
but, Ohio State just was calling my name, and I've made beautiful relationships from that community. So I am definitely known in my family. Was it your major, or what kind of attracted you over? A boyfriend? What was the? No, to be completely honest, I was really wanting to go to Michigan State, and I kind of delayed on my admissions to go there. That's the nuts and the truth of all of it. And Ohio State was Big Ten. I wanted to stay in Big Ten. I'm a big football fan, and wanted to stay in the Big Ten network. So Ohio State was just. So you figured you just go like completely opposite, so you can at least see your friends at the game. Yes, I crossed the border into Ohio State, and it was a wonderful experience for me.
The Michigan State's campus in Lansing, I did a brief. My first part of my career was with Quicken Loans, and my now wife, I chased her up there. She was living in the very neighboring town of East Lansing. It was just a few miles away, and obviously we spent a lot of time on that campus. It's a really neat little area, so I can see why you thought about going there. Yeah. But so I had to know that sin there, because I imagine we do have some. I know we have Ohio State people out there, and of course I know Corey's from Ohio.
Yes, yes he is.
So there was probably a slight little bond. Of course, he didn't go to the Ohio State.
No, he didn't. But I feel part of him has to have that Buckeye blood going through him, even though that wasn't where he played. But
so what was it like growing up in Michigan? I mean, what were you? Were you an athlete growing up? I mean, tell us a little bit about that. Where in Michigan did you grow up?
I grew up in Flint, Michigan.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, so that just spawns a whole host of conversations. Typically, being
did
from
you drink
Flint.
The water there?
I drank the water. The water was fine when I was growing up. I survived that aspect of it. Looking back and being from Flint, it was more about GM and, the community of hard hits that just keeps going. Mm-hmm. And when the whole water thing came about, it's just, that was kind of a terrible situation for sure. But the water was good when I was there.
We traveled a lot around when I was, with Quicken there, because I was based over in Troy originally, and then I think it's what's it called, South Side. They transferred offices. Of course, now Quicken's all downtown Detroit, but Pontiac, Flint. I mean, some really hard hit areas for a long time. When the auto industry just picked up and got out of there, it really hit that whole stretch there, going in there really hard. So what did you major in at Ohio State?
I majored in sociology. However, I did not get my college degree. I never finished the college, just because mostly I don't think that it's for everyone.
I agree.
And I just took a different route.
We were just talking about, it's an ongoing conversation, obviously, with the construction industry. You don't need to go to college to make a good money. You don't need to be a college graduate to be a real estate agent. The number of craftsmen out there, you can go, whether you apprentice or go to a trade school, learn how to be a a plumber, or obviously if you're, what's the term I want to use? You can, make cabinets, whatever. There is skilled trade. Yeah. A welder, and we know there's a tremendous amount out there. I think a lot of people go to the wayside when really we should be, a good percentage of our kids should be going to those schools right away, if not already learning that in high school.
Right.
Yeah. So I totally agree. So you just left early, or
yeah?
What happened?
I mean, it was just. Honestly, it's really a long story.
Okay.
A really long story.
But you left.
But I did. I was more into working. So
okay.
I took a little break from school. This was, before I decided to leave Ohio State. But I actually worked for the university. I worked in their research department. And I kind of just had to do that 9 to 5, paying tuition and trying to make it work, and being able to mostly pay the tuition.
Okay.
Was kind of how it went, but
your interest just in going to class just was no more.
Yeah, I had, and this will probably carry us into other topics later on, but my energy serves me better in the workforce. Mm-hmm. I've always been in sales, with the exception of when I was trying to, pay tuition for college.
Because we talked pre-show, the LinkedIn account, at least that I could see of you, you just talk about your real estate. So what did you get out and start doing? What was your first full-time job? And you start supporting yourself, I imagine, an apartment or whatever.
Well, the full-time job, as you know, came a long time ago. Mm-hmm. When I was in Columbus. I have a very eclectic employment history. Okay. To be honest, I've done.
Trust me, you're probably not the only one listening. I see a lot of.
Yeah, you got
to find your groove.
You have to find your groove. You have to find your niche, and sometimes those answers just don't come quick. You know, and so I have sold everything from medical devices to fine art. I have, there was a moment there, probably about a good 6 years, where about 7 years ago, I went to get I became an MA, a medical assistant, believe it or not.
So you did go back for some schooling?
I did, and a couple more courses came thereafter. And my husband and I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I got a job for a surgeon in that area after I did finish MA school.
Okay.
And I got this really exciting position for a surgeon in Charlotte. He was very involved in the surgical community. He wrote several books. I was really proud to even be positioned where I was.
Right.
And honestly, what I learned for working for this particular doctor, actually 2 doctors, just set the course of my own, energy and dedication and, drive to want more for myself.
Sure.
More than anything.
Sure.
And because of their belief in me and being able to teach me, they trusted me. They, put me through school to become their clinical trials manager. I just was very regimented into that.
So that does lead into other questions, because I think this is very important in anyone's career, let alone a real estate agent. You're a young lady, you're going through, you're bouncing around, you're able to get some of these jobs, but you're finding out, you're not getting I can read into that as you weren't getting the support, which therefore doesn't give you the confidence. And these doctors, because obviously they were very credible, because you're talking about, they had written books, they were known, and so forth, and the fact that they were endorsing you, they were guiding you. They said, hey, we want you to run this over here for you, because they had credibility and you respected them. Mm-hmm. And when they reached out and touched you and said, I want you to do that, that gave you a lot of confidence. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I felt a sense of fulfillment, it just really established my work ethic. Mm-hmm. And, even here I am 6-7 years later, right. And still they, obviously are an impression left a lasting impression.
Well, I mean, I think we go back and we look at history. There's those people that set us on a different course. We were talking about a little bit pre-show. The choices we make, the people we met, and so forth. Have opened another door, whatever it is. But you come back. You come to St. Augustine.
Yep.
So you were here and then left and then came back?
Yes. So yes, we left for a little bit, but we did come back. My husband's family owns a restaurant in St. Augustine.
Do we want to endorse
it? Yes, of course. The Sunset Grill.
The Sunset Grill.
Yes, it's been there, I think, 33 years now.
Where's that at exactly?
It is St. Augustine Beach.
Okay. I think I've been there. It's south of the, you go by the bigger restaurants right there in the
which we don't talk about.
No, we don't talk. And you just go south a little bit. It's on the ocean side from A1A, right?
It's not in that particular part of the beach. There's really not many restaurants that are oceanfront, but it's on the other side of the street there.
Okay.
It's one of the big ones. It's been there for a long time. Neon lights.
Sure I've been
yellow.
there. I'm sure I've been there.
Yes.
And they've been
so
there.
So we came back because
they were here.
They were here. Mm-hmm. My husband, he wanted to be here. St. Augustine called, and
is he a restaurant person himself?
Yeah, he's been with them for almost 27 years.
Oh wow!
So I mean, it's family, and that's what brought us back. So St. Augustine's a small town, and I needed to figure out how to fulfill this drive that I had now.
Yeah, so you get the energy going from the doctors. You come back. What do you do when you get back here? Because you're still not in real estate yet. What do you do when you come back to St. Augustine?
So when I came back, I was selling a medical device to ambulatory surgery centers. So living in Charlotte kind of kick-started, a career in the medical industry.
Opened the door.
Yes. That was kind of the path that it took me. However, I'm a mom and I have a daughter, and my husband works in the restaurant industry. So, there's a sacrifice there, and it seemed like my daughter was kind of having to take it the most because I was on the road and going away. Her dad was in the restaurant, and it just didn't.
Almost every night, I'm sure.
It just didn't work. It didn't work for us. And then, so I did that for about 2 years, and then I tried to kind of take a step back. What can keep me local?
Right.
How can I stay closer to home?
Yet still maintain an income.
Yes, and still maintain the income. So I got into selling fine arts for a little bit.
Okay.
And that was wonderful, actually. That was very enriching. The people that you come across is,
interesting.
It was a wonderful experience.
So
but I needed to be out hunting and not, fishing.
So because and you correct me if I'm wrong. I can only some of these fine arts. There's some in downtown St. Augustine. We were in Key West recently, and you're going by some of these stores, that have all this art in it, and the price tag on it. Obviously, there's only a very fine percentage of people that are going to drop that kind of money on a piece of art like that. And so, are you actually reaching out to those people? I imagine it's almost like probably drove you nuts because you're wanting to go talk to the next person, make the next sale. How do you?
Yeah. So, as much as I loved selling that, actually the relationships that were built in that experience are, irreplaceable and unforgettable. However, you are waiting for people to come in and completely have respect for, the art and wanting to hear the background story of the artist and knowing, why they're purchasing that. But I needed to be out. I needed to be out hunting, and I mean, like out there, and being more available to my daughter.
Of course,
which is what
primary goal. So you start getting a taste for real estate.
So for years, everyone's like, you need to get into real estate. You really need to just get into real estate. And I'm not really sure why I fought it for so many years, but I mean, I really did. And I think mostly because I felt everyone was doing it. You know what I mean? Like everyone was getting their license, and I knew so many people who already had their license, and I just was like, I don't know. I don't know. My
wife was the same way. She's been in it probably almost about the same time you have, but she kept getting the corporate America kept calling her back.
Yeah.
A friend of hers, here's a contract job, and did that. I don't know whatever, it was a year and a half, and she was with Alltel when Verizon bought them out. It was supposed to be 6 months. It ended up being 5 years, and so obviously you have a craft, and the wages are there, and of course she was able to work from home, so she didn't have the as we were having our 2 kids, growing up, we didn't have that issue that you have, or being away. So who's like the first person you talk to? Who do you start interacting with to kind of learn more about this real estate?
Honestly, one morning I woke up. I'm a hard worker, and I know that I put a lot into the things that I'm involved in. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it was just like this. I had a friend who is a real estate agent in St. Augustine, and she's been ingrained in the real estate community for a long time. And I was like, I think I'm gonna get my real estate license, which I think is a very likely conversation, because I have them all the time. People saying, I think I'm gonna get my real estate license. I think I'm gonna get my, and I did the same thing. I think I'm gonna get my real estate license. Right. And she was extremely supportive, and the rest was history. It all kind of went really fast the last,
Well, I think, the time period that you're thinking about it, we have a steady, somewhat normalized market. Obviously interest rates have been low for the last 13 years. Mm-hmm. And you're just, we have a natural demand here, mm-hmm. but we also have a transient area in Northeast Florida because corporations are moving people in and out, Navy, whatever, that sort of thing. So there's always this regular turnover. So anyone who wants to be a real estate agent and put forth, it's not, we're not seeing the high and dry areas like they might see in Michigan.
Right.
At different times. So you're interested in it. So knowing, I'm sure you heard all the statistics, probably the first minute you went into that, did you do it online, or did you go to a class for training?
No, so I definitely went into class. So sitting still, being, in one place, watching the computer screen, I agree. I need someone to stand over me and really tell me about it, the instruction.
So I imagine in the first few minutes, they're already telling you that 80% of this room is not going to be here.
That's right. You're set to just fail the minute that you start. That's just, but that statistic is really real. And I think that, right off the bat, you really have to just give yourself, really plunge into it,
So you had this friend that was already working locally. Mm-hmm. And because I think one of the biggest things, you're going and people don't realize, yes, you are under a brokerage, but you are self-employed. And I think a lot of self-employed people, the great thing about our country, it makes very easy for anyone who wants to do it themselves, but then it's on you, right? You got to actually do it.
You do.
And so the barrier to entry is very low for real estate. But like any other self-employed, whether you open a little shop or whatever you're doing, you actually have to make it happen. You're not at corporate America anymore, or you're not getting, because I imagine when you were selling the medical devices, they said, hey, we're flying you out here, you need to go talk to so-and-so.
That's exactly right.
And they were setting your appointments for you, and you were just a showpiece, and you went out there and did the talking for them. But you actually have to now get the appointments, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the difference. And it's really for any self-employed person. And unless you're buying a big franchise or a restaurant that already exists and already has this influx of people, you're going to pay a lot of money for that.
Right.
So the entry level is high. So you're in this class. What are some of your initial thoughts? Because you're not even just coming up on 3 years. What are some initial thoughts that someone who might be watching right now might be thinking about, just like you were in that period of, hey, I think I might want to get my real estate license. What are some initial things that they need to know up front? Not saying they can't do it, but some initial, probably obstacles, challenges that if they want to get off to a good start, they need to know before they even step into that class.
Well, I think the first hurdle that you have is that you'll notice that after you get your real estate license, everything that you just studied and learned is not the experience that you have when you start actually, selling and, being an agent. It's the bookwork is there. You know, it definitely, the terminology is absolutely there. And I do find myself going back to the book and, you know, kind of, you know, refreshing myself on a few topics, but mostly the experience is different. And you have to know that everyone has their own experience, right? So how you started off is, you know, is where the path will take you. For me, I was just coming out of, you know, the medical field, so it was about information. How I need more information. I'm greedy for knowledge.
Well, just like the arts, you wanted to know and had to know the complete background of that artist. So those people who are coming in, they're buying the story, right? Part of the art is the story,
right?
And you needed to know the story behind it,
right?
And I imagine one of the things you can probably tell me is you felt you needed to know that contract forward and backwards.
I just felt like I needed to know everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was greedy for knowledge, and I was at first just trying to figure out how can I use this book and the information that's in it out here in the field.
Right.
Because that's just, you know, what I came from. That was, you know, my history on that. But I also think, and I don't know if this is actually really answering the question or not, but when I first started real estate, I think the reason that I got into it, or the reason I did not get into it, I'm backtracking because it's kind of coming to me now, but the reason I didn't get into it is because my mom was always a renter. We always rented. We never owned homes. That whole home buying experience and, you know, knowing what that felt like, looked like, just was not my background. So I think going back to confidence and building that, I just couldn't relate. You know, I just could not relate.
I can rationalize with I can
the house.
rationalize that, because that wasn't part of owning wasn't part of your DNA, so to speak.
But listen, having that experience has served me well with building.
This is what makes you great. Tip right here. Go ahead.
Yeah, it has served me well because the respect that I have for this whole process, buying a home, owning a home, you know, the dedication that it takes to acquiring a home, and, you know, especially if you're doing a conventional loan or something like that. I mean, you guys know, there's a lot that goes into that. You know what I mean? And you have to just want it. There has to be a certain amount of dedication there. And because of that relationship, that respect that I was seeing and having, it has carried me through and helped building strong relationships with my customers.
So I think this is one of the, and I won't say this is a generational thing, because I think this is all people in general. We overlook our experiences and how valuable they were.
Exactly.
You took your experience of growing up being a renter, or your parents being renters, and turned it into, you dug deeper into it. And you were able, now you break it down and understand the challenges, maybe the challenges your mom had. And, you know, maybe it wasn't because she didn't want to buy a home, but she, you know, the commitment, the security of the job, whatever it was that challenged her and kept her away from home ownership. And you broke it down, and you now put yourself in that other person's shoes.
Right.
Where before you were just walking down the sidewalk, now you're actually you're digging deep into it. And this is, when you were talking about it, it made me think of the movie Karate Kid, right? He had the wash on, wash off. And he's like, man, why am I doing this? And too many people overlook the experiences they have, and if they dig into them like you just did, it now gave you a platform to work from.
And it does.
Yeah.
It really, really does. And, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a small transaction or obviously, you know, a large transaction. It's the same experience. It's just having respect for the people that you work for and having the confidence. You know what I mean? So
it's Bernadette, it's a very common theme. I know you've listened to a couple of shows, but I'm sure you heard it in there. The best of the best all will tell me on here, it's how they work so hard to make sure, you know, they may be working with 4 or 5 people at the same time, which I'm sure you've experienced, and doing 20 million in a year. You've done that, you know, working with multiple people, but each and every one of them you treated like they were your only customer at that time.
that's right.
Yeah. And it is a very common theme, And whatever discipline it takes, you need to call Bernadette or listen to the other shows, call those agents, and what are they doing? What are some of the little things that they do to make sure that when they're with that person, we're talking about silencing the phones before the show. Maybe it is putting you on do not disturb while you're with that customer in that house. So no phone calls are coming in. You're not being distracted by social media dings and text messages until afterwards. Then you go sit in your car and get caught up or whatever type of thing. Whatever it is, I think that's definitely something that someone should reach out to you. And what is it? What is your technique? What are some? And if you, since we're on this, what are just like some couple of things like is this, maybe take them out to lunch when you initially meet them? I don't know. What is it that you do to kind of launch that relationship, to dig in and learn more about them, and to meet that, what we were just talking about, that platform?
I mean, honestly, I think at first it's not about going, to lunch or anything. It's more just about listening, if you just listen to what, the customer wants, it really is a footprint for how to move forward. There are customers who are very analytical, and it is about numbers, and, they're wanting to see, really dig into that CMA. And
our engineers at Northrop Grumman.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and
we love you too.
But I mean, you have to be able to adapt to what it is that they're looking for, because that's really what it's about. It's what they need. We're here to serve.
Right. The few minutes on the front end, sharpening the sword, really. I mean, you think about it. You spend, they talk about the guy chopping the tree down with the axe, right? He's got to chop it down an hour, but he spends the first 40 minutes sharpening the axe, and that's sitting there listening to them. Because they will tell you, and the more they tell you, you start eliminating all these homes so you're not wasting your time, and then you narrow it down to hopefully, 2 or 3 and say, hey, based on what you've told me, you wanted to do this, had to have this, maybe this, boom, let's go right here.
That's right. And I mean, it doesn't always, start off with, the customer knowing exactly what they want. You kind of have to get there, right? So that's the service that goes along with, providing in real estate. Not everyone's saying, oh, I want a $600,000 house. It has to be 4 bedrooms. Sometimes they start off that way, but it really can sometimes go a completely different path than the way that it started. And I think just obviously, like I said, listening and kind of always circling back and going, back to what they're saying, you have to sometimes remind them, what it is they were really looking 100%. For in the first place.
Well, that's proper sales. I mean, you listen, what are their needs and wants? What do they have to have with it? Well, at least what they think they have to have. But I think the one common thing, because I do have a CDD seminar that I do, and I was on my board for 11 years, is the community development districts, right? They come in, I don't want them CDDs. Someone told me not to do it, but then they end up buying in the CDD because that's where all the amenities are that they want.
Right.
That's the community's lifestyle they want from that standpoint.
But I mean, that same direction of listening what they want, like, it seems like automatic. You talk about buyers, but the same thing goes for sellers. You kind of have to remind them what it was that they wanted at first as well, because once the different offers come in or the showings come in, there's an emotion that is attached to that, and you have to continuously remind them what they wanted.
Do you think the sellers, prior to that actually happening, discount that emotion? You know it's coming because you've seen it enough times. What's going to happen? Have you analyzed your customers? And I think the general public or an agent not being in tune like you seem to be, the sellers, they just want the most amount of money for their house. Sometimes it's not as simple as that.
It's not.
Or of course, knowing most of the time you've been an agent, at least in the last 18 months, the multiple offers coming in, and what is going to be the offer that's going to make them happy to accept and showing them.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the tango, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of the hard part sometimes, but in the end, you try to, your purpose is to educate, and you are the professional in the situation. That's why the relationship was started in the beginning.
All right, so we're going to go back. You're just getting started right now, and you used the term educate. Mm-hmm. How important was it, or what are the things that you did initially? Like you said, you wanted the whole picture.
I did.
And so what are some things that you did to get educated? Because in this business, being self-employed, not everybody knows everything. There's not a one-stop shop for that education. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you did to grasp some of this knowledge that you wanted?
It's such a good question because, this is something that I think about, quite often. As a new real estate agent, you have to, absorb a lot of information, and it's easy to get swayed into, a routine that may possibly not be the one that's right for you, mm-hmm. right? So for me, it was about taking all the classes I could at the board at first, mostly because I think I was nervous. You know what I mean? I was really wanting to go out there with all the confidence that I felt inside, but really kind of feeling green about what was in front of me. So I thought, if I just keep taking these classes, I'm going to learn more and I'm going to learn more, and then I'm going to be ready when I get out there.
Yeah.
And
you're never totally ready because you actually have to deal with people.
No,
so you don't know what curveball is going to come at you.
That's right.
All right.
That's right. So, once I started getting more in the field, obviously my business took me away from being so, in the books. Mm-hmm. But I think something that's really important is to surround yourself with people who inspire you. That people who are knowledgeable, people who can offer you, there are highly knowledgeable brokers and agents in this field, but that's their story, right? So they can share it. You just have to be able to, pull out what works for you. Don't try to be something that you're not.
Well, it goes back to what
authentic.
We were talking about pre-show, and the whole thing is what made you successful, right? And you have to stop and go back. What did I do? Who did I meet? What did I say? Open this door and that door, and it's like you're saying you have to pull this knowledge from and I know in St. Augustine I've spent. I assume, did you go to NEFAR or did you spend a lot at the St. Augustine board?
I spent a lot of time at the board. I'm actually just kind of getting in the groove with NEFAR.
Okay. Yeah, I like the St. Augustine because I was with Ameris before. When I down in St. Augustine, I chose St. Augustine. I spent a lot of time at the board and done some classes there. And you have some of your older senior agents, some of them for the area, some just kind of retired here, but they still kind of tinker in it, and they want to, they have a plethora of knowledge. Some of them just aren't implementing it anymore.
Right.
And so you got to pick out what's relevant to you today, and then what fits your style, right?
That's right.
What is it? I mean, I have had numerous agents, many of the top agents said they've never made a cold call before. So they did something different in going out and getting their business and so forth, because that had to fit their lifestyle, their personality, etc.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and with St. Augustine especially, our town is experiencing growth in massive ways right now. And I think that all agents will agree with me when saying we kind of have to adapt to, kind of newer models, and how we can serve new generations, and that goes for ages and just, towns in general,
I think some people like to generalize it with generations, the millennials or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think every individual, depending on what part of the country they come from, is different. They might be the same age coming from New York.
Agree.
But they have a different attitude than that guy from Kansas or California, right? Or the engineer at Northrop Grumman, and has a different, might be the same age, could have even gone to the same school, but they have a different thing because he's an engineer, and the personality and mind think, the analytical part versus the emotional part, or whatever you want to go. But I think it's every individual. Mm-hmm. You kind of have to feel out. Now, I can generalize in 17 years and doing a lot of business, because first 12 was over the phone call center environment, talking to people from all over the country.
I had one of those jobs too.
Yeah. The personalities, my former leader that I was behind, he'd listen to my calls when I was talking to the New Yorkers, and being from New York, mm-hmm. Or even some of our foreign friends, especially our people from India or Pakistan, that sort of area. You can be very direct with them. You can get no, sir. That is not you, and it's because that's the way they do business.
That's right.
Where someone else, if you were like literally said no to them, they would be like, they would start crying and walk away. So you learn how every individual and where they're from. It's very interesting, actually. I should have been a psychology major, is what.
But that's the best part,
yes.
Right? That's what keeps it exciting and diverse,
right.
Is being able to.
Well, if he made it so easy, we wouldn't have jobs, right?
That's true. That's true.
So what are some of the things that you do today to stay on top of your game? Because, I mean, obviously, the last roughly 36 months and the amount of business you did last year, what a rush, right? I mean, I'm sure it sometimes felt overwhelmed and cried out for help. And so what are some of the things that you do to stay on top personally in just staying grounded and humble? Are you a podcast listener? Do you read books? Or, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, my family kind of makes fun of me because I'll read just about any kind of self-help book that there is. I have mentors that I lean on, that I can, kind of bounce things off of. I have a tendency of being very hyperactive. I mean, even right now as we're talking, I've got, my daughter gave me these little, I don't know, like sensory toys.
Yeah,
and I mean, so just to give you an example of my personality. So I kind of need to be, because I am being the even keel for everyone else, right? For all of my customers. So, I kind of, when I have to take a step back, I'm like, okay, I need to recharge.
Yep.
I'll read a good book. Like I said, typically a self-help book.
You wrote some down. What's
I
some
did.
You were thinking of some before?
I was a loss for words because, when you get put on the spot. But, Atomic Habits, I love the power of...
I've heard that one. It's very popular recently.
Yes, and, that one is a good one to just kind of have nearby. All of us set goals and get strayed, and it's kind of nice to be able to refer to that and go back and, kind of get yourself grounded. So I like that one. I usually keep that one within arm's length. The Powers of Persuasion are always good. I think that book is good because at least it kind of helps even you make sense of feelings that you're having,
It's like, and I've used this analogy on the shows before, but now I'm going to use it towards the book. Because a lot of those books will have, I mean, if they're a 10-chapter book, they might have 10 solid things, but you to implement all 10 at the same time, sometimes people are like, they just give up. Where you've got to really focus on, that one or two things. You're like, oh, man, that's a brilliant idea. All right, it gave me 10. I finished reading the book, but I'm going to keep it close by because I'm going to work on number one. And actually, How to Win Friends and Influence People actually tells you that.
One.
Yeah. And they actually tell you that to implement work, it actually is designed to actually be a workbook, not a book that you just, read in a few days or whatever type thing. But keep the book close, work that one idea. You go to an event, there might be multiple speakers there, and you're there for a couple of days, and there's all these ideas, and then people just get overwhelmed. Choose one, maybe two, that you can implement today, and then go back and add the others if you even have time for that. The one or two may change your game
completely.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of them will just resonate. They will resonate. When you read these type of books, when you look at it, topics will resonate.
Yes.
And that's what you need to just focus on.
All right, let's you had your friend that was in the business.
Yes.
Is that what led you to your first brokerage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is what led me to my first brokerage. And, when you get into this industry and you choose a broker, where to go, where to hang your license, you have to remember, and I've kind of just told myself, you have to, for any new agent that's getting in and getting started, you should go with how you want to be led, right? You have to really vet out where you're going because you're building your own career.
Resonate was the word. You want their vision, because I imagine a broker's painting their vision. This is how we do business here.
Right.
This is what we do. You may not have a vision totally yet because you haven't done anything yet. But you want to align. Your vision needs to resonate.
That's right.
Or their vision needs to resonate with you.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So, where I landed was perfect for me, to be honest, because My broker was highly knowledgeable and handled me with kid gloves. I had 50 million questions. Of course, I had a friend that was working with me, and, I could obviously bounce things off of her. But the broker of that firm, I really could lean on him, and he really kind of walked me through. So that time that I spent was everything I needed. Yeah, it was everything I needed when I first started out. And that was a good choice.
Yeah.
But I was wanting more technology and, again, getting greedy for knowledge. And I ended up making the switch. But
So what did you see? Now, did you go directly to Jack's, or did you work at the Ingalls and Volkers in St. Augustine?
I worked at the Ingalls and Volkers St. Augustine for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yep.
But then you joined Corey.
I did.
So
why?
Jennifer, right? It's Jennifer.
Yep, Brindle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully she still likes you, because I want to get her on the show. I've been nagging her to get her on the show. Give us some stepping stones, like you said, and I think it's natural. Anyone, if you're a broker out there and you have pains because an agent leaves you, it's not totally a bad thing. You may have just run out of value to give them. They've outgrown the first broker was great at getting you off the start. You thought just ramped you right up, but you raised to a level that you wanted to go more. And so you reached out and saw somewhere, went over to Jennifer, and she gave you that little bit more because you were there half your career now there. And then now it's because you've got, like you said, surround yourself by the top people. Not that they're not still top people, but you hung out with them long enough, and got what you're on a continual growth thing, which all the success that you jumped over to Corey. So kind of give us some, a stepping stone, what are some of the valuable things that obviously the first brokerage got you started. You went over to Jennifer, you mentioned technology, there probably been some other things. And then what, sweet talking Corey attracted you?
Honestly,
or did you just come?
Jen is, she is an awesome, she does high-end listings, and she's phenomenal at it. And she is a highly experienced sales, person. So she has a lot to offer anyone. My husband says that I like to live in a zone of discomfort. I'm always living in this uncomfortable zone because I feel like that's where the most growth happens.
Yes.
And, St. Augustine is, there's a lot of us here in St. Augustine, right? And I really just wanted mostly to expand my extend my sphere a little bit, have a little bit more room, to move and breathe. But, St. Augustine, I really wanted to have a diverse group of high-end luxury listers that could offer, different facets of the industry. Right. Most importantly, we all get in this business because, whether it be personal growth or, if you're looking for wealth, if you're looking to invest, but it's multifaceted. And for me, I just wanted more diversity than. So I went to Corey.
So you went to Corey.
Because I'm in love with my brand. I didn't want to leave Engel and Volkers.
Right.
And
was that a recruitment over, or you just saw what Corey was doing and was like, hey, I want to jump on that bus?
Yeah, no, it was nothing of the sort, actually. It was just, I feel that a lot of my success had to do with just loving who I was with and my brand and what they were offering. I felt that, Jen brought Engel and Volkers to St. Augustine. I thought that was the most amazing thing ever. When she introduced herself to me, I was like, yes, I want to get on that. I want to get in there.
Right.
And I don't take for granted anything that was offered, to me there. But I wanted to make the switch because I just craved more. So I went to Jacksonville. I went to Corey, and I asked if he was willing to, take me in from St. Augustine. And it's been a good move.
So what's Bernadette's vision of her business now? Are you said you wanted to expand what you felt Corey was going to help you expand your geographical influence. Are you looking to put a team together, or a team just with you and maybe some transaction coordinator type team, or are you looking to put some agents together? because I do know he has recruited over some top teams from Watson that I know personally over there in the 210 office anyway. What is it what's your vision of you?
Well, for one, me going over to Corey, he is, his leadership skills are amazing, and I feel that I have something to offer that circle eventually. As we talked, I'm just going in, to my third year, and obviously I think a team is within range and, in sight, and I definitely want to start that environment off, on the right footing. So I do think that a team will happen.
I would. Just thinking about what you're doing, and you like the Ingalls and Volkers brand. I like, the way Corey. I assume Jennifer's the same way. They don't really go to the real estate school and are pulling these newbies out. They want someone that's been seasoned a little bit, that is showing you producer. And then when you start putting a team together, I think Corey explained it well. The top people are in that office, and there's this synergy that goes on and drives it. And sometimes when you have some top people and all you're doing is filtering in the new people. New people take a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Some people love catering to that. All the power to you. But it takes a ton of energy of the entire brokerage when you're bringing on these new people versus the high level masterminds you're probably having at Ingalls and Volkers. If he has a sales meeting, everyone in there is producing at some level and actually has enough experience to have a proper input into what's
That's
going
right.
on.
We have round tables. They are bouncing ideas off of each other. They're sharing tricks of the trade. Advisor support.
I need to bust into it. I got to tell because I reached out to him and said I wanted to chat with him and. Just to sit in on one of these and hear what you guys are talking, because it's probably a lot of what you guys are talking about here, but more distinct or fine-tuned to what you're doing. Yeah, I think that would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
Initial challenges, though. You had a great broker getting you started, but personally, how many times have you wanted to quit?
Never.
Never?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay, you're rare.
Yeah. No, I've never. No, you do have days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you kind of have to fulfill
why am I
your
doing
soul
this?
a little bit. But no, I've never wanted to quit. I'm definitely, this relationship was supposed to happen, me in real estate. And
so did you get you got some sales fairly quickly? That got your energy going? Because I imagine a lot of agents get in and they don't have a sale, or maybe they just have one, and 6 months go by and it's like, oh man, am I going to get another one? And they're done.
The sales came fairly quickly for me the first year. And honestly, my business grew leaps and bounds when I went to Engel and Volkers. Mostly, and I think we talked about this before, it was right. It was right for me. And, that is a sign of, our brokerage in general, whether it be in St. Augustine or Jacksonville, it has the potential
importance
for
of
growing your business.
Corey's vision, and now you do have a vision because you have your vision and Corey's vision and what he's doing, and that just takes you a 10x's you, because now you're just excited to go in. You're excited to go in the office. Everyone's on that same vision. You're not fighting someone over, hey, we should do this or that, or whatever it is, or from the brand standpoint. Right. Just everyone's attitude.
Exactly. It has everything to do with that.
3 things a new agent should know. You were able to give them this toolbox of 3 wishes. Okay, what are the 3 things the top 3 things a new agent, someone coming to you, said, I'm thinking about getting into real estate, either needs to know or needs to do?
I think the number one thing is to be authentic. Right off the bat, find your own space in it, because it's easy to pick up bad habits, you know what I mean? Or, to be swayed. So I think being authentic is really important. Really find out, what makes you tick and helps you drive, the dedication that it's going to take. When you're, I hate to call it a 9 to 5, but when you're on a salaried job, I guess is the better way to say it. You have someone that you have to answer to. If they tell you that you need to, fly to Texas and, go see,
Doctor
whoever. Yeah, exactly. You're going to do that because of the respect that you have for your position and because it's your job.
Right.
You have to take that into the real estate field as well. So if you don't do what you say, or if you don't set yourself up to what is going to find you success, then essentially you're disrespecting your boss, right? You're disrespecting yourself. You're not like giving yourself everything that you could have to grow from it. So I think really following through with, whatever kind of task list that.
And because you aren't getting paid a salary, but you need to go, it's the $100,000 manufactured home listing. Well, I mean, you go and you treat them. You don't know who they are.
Right.
You don't know, maybe that they're living frugally right now for whatever reason. And then who knows that 5 years from now, they aren't buying the $10 million home, which we haven't got to yet, but we'll get there. Right? All right. So authentic.
Authentic, dedication, and there are many things that you can do. The direct mailers, the open houses, the cold calling, social media, finding out which one works best for you, and just kind of, once you realize what it is, really go with it.
Which brings me to one of the terms that I have. We talked about education, consistency.
Yes, consistency.
Find out what and if you're with the right broker, they will help you find out that niche. Mm-hmm. Because the common things are, just get on the phone and start calling. And there are some teams that's what they do, and they just pound through it. Let's just call. You may not like that, and if you don't have much success with it early, you will be wanting to quit. Mm-hmm. But finding that niche where you like doing it, you're good at it, and it's just going to 10x your business.
Yeah.
Which I found. So what was it, since we're on that subject, what do you think it was, or maybe there's a couple of things that 10x your business? You mentioned going to Engel & Volker's Accelerator. What was it there that, or did someone give you some little tidbit that just changed your business that all of a sudden, boom, $20 million in 12 months?
Well, I do think that Engel & Volker's was kind of the, shiny object, in St. Augustine. It was kind of just perfect and, what it needed. It was a little, it was a different angle, so to speak. So that instantly drew an attraction. Plus, like I said, Jen is a high lister, and, she has a wealth of knowledge that is offered. But mostly it was just, I have to continually go back to consistency and being authentic to yourself, right? When I am working with someone and I have a customer, they're just my focus. It's not. I just found out that I had $20 million in sales just because I wasn't focused on those numbers, and that's the truth, right? So a lot of agents take that route of kind of keeping track, and maybe that's something that I should learn to do a little bit more. But for me, it's really about just
having that successful transaction.
Really,
a customer it's going to refer you to further business because they had such a great transaction.
Exactly. So even when I was talking about my first broker, handling with kid gloves, right? Because sometimes, you kind of need to communicate that way. And I always kind of approach that with my customers, really wanting to walk through the process together. I always want to be hugely available. When I first got into this business, I remember one of the things that I pet peeved is sometimes it would take people 3 days to call me back. Mm-hmm. And I just was like, no, we need to have these answers, right now.
Well, that was one of the thoughts that I had. It's like you were in sales, in the medical sales, because I imagine you go and do your presentation, and then, I don't know, maybe they get it passed by a board or whatever, but there's a transaction. You've done your part. There's not more like hand holding or whatever, where you kind of have to slow down a little bit in real estate.
Yeah.
You have to realize that maybe you will show somebody some houses. They may stop and say, we're just going to stay here for now. But 6 months later, they pick it up, or all of a sudden, a week later, they call you and say, oh, you know what, we do want to go see that one. And you have to kind of be cool with it. It's not,
That's right.
It's not an immediate close. It is an entire transaction. It is a long game thing. And obviously, I would imagine, today, I mean, where are most of your leads or new buyers or new sellers coming from?
They're calling my phone.
Mm-hmm. And you said you did 27 transactions that added up to that $20 million. So you kept your head down for 27 transactions. being authentic, being consistent. What was the other?
Being available.
Being available. You kept your head down. Not even 27 transactions, because I guarantee you were already getting referrals at that point. But, and of course, the business you did at Century 21. So, you kept your head down for a couple dozen transactions of being focused on that individual, authentic, and now they're calling you. And what is the greatest thing? To pick up the phone and say, "Oh yeah, Mrs. Smith, she told me you were the greatest things in sliced bread, and I need to sell my home with you."
Yeah, and I think it's about having conversations with people. Like lucky for me, I mean, my husband's family owns a restaurant, so I'm able to meet a lot of people through there. It's obviously a landmark in town, so that gives me a local footprint. But this always, I'm like transferring over to Engel and Volkers. What makes that so great as well is that it has a global reach. So that gives me something to talk about.
A lot of Europeans coming into St. Augustine.
Yes,
or
very
Florida
much.
in general. But, yeah.
Yep. And they command they have a very discernible group that is attracted to Engel and Volkers. So these are things that I'm able to talk about, with conversations. It's a different kind of brokerage than a lot of them, and we're able to have these kind of conversations. So.
All right, so we're gonna wrap things up with a few minutes left. $10.3 million listing. I've looked at some of the pictures. This place is amazing. That barn is like.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't even really looking at the house. I was looking at the horse barn. So this is a record, if I'm not mistaken, for the area as far as a listing is concerned, or any property that possibly would sell for that much. Mm-hmm. How did
I get it?
Well, I guess the one question I have is whoever owned it, obviously, I assume had an idea that they were going to live there forever, or a family or whatever, because they have put so much into it. It's a beautiful just facility if you're a horse lover, obviously. So I'm a little bit interested in, without telling the person's name who owned it, unless you can or want to, but what their thought is. But now, how did you end up meeting them or getting that referral?
So this particular part of town is, it's rural. There hasn't been. And I mean, but to be honest, it is kind of up and coming, and I had a customer that was already in this particular community, and it was 4 acres of land, and it was priced at an amount, and I mean, even the neighbors were like, "Are you sure? Is this priced right?" You know what I mean? Because most of the people who own property in this particular community purchased it a long time ago, 2005, and they've just kind of sat on it. They've built their barns and they ride their horses, and it is an equestrian community. But honestly, the way that I met this person who's actually extremely special, but he introduced himself to me when I was working at my other listing, and yes, that house.
So you were the buyer's agent, or you listed
I had
the
a
other
listing
house
in the
other? Okay.
Yeah, I have a couple customers in there, and I was in the neighborhood a lot, and he wanted to have the conversation about his very special property, and that was a project of love, and you can see it. Like there isn't a single corner missed. Everything is special.
Beautiful.
The historical value is significant. And
what is the? Yeah, I did see that, and you had the historical value. What is the historical part of the?
So there's a section that runs through the property that was part of the oldest road in St. Augustine. It was Old Kings Road was the road that ran through.
Right.
And this particular section, it was when Florida was part of the 13th or 14th Crown, and there's a creek that runs through the property, and to get to the other side, the King of England wanted to harvest live oak, turpentine, get to the other side. Right. Okay? So there is remnants of the bridge that the King had commissioned Indians to build, and I mean, it just has this amazing value.
Wow.
1772, I believe it dated back.
Cool.
But I mean, even to add to that, I mean, that makes it a Florida landmark. But even the flooring inside the house is refurbished and reconstructed wood from Apalachicola that dates back to the 1800s. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Knotty pine throughout the whole barn.
So what brings him to want to sell it? Is he just older and just wants to move on?
No, it's a brand new home. Actually, it was just built in 2019. It completely runs off the grid, right? So it's a self-sustainable home.
Wow. Generator.
Right. So let me like
solar.
go back to like everything: water, energy. He actually gets a credit at the end of the year for for his electrical bill.
Right.
It's self-sustaining, and the story that I could get into will take us way over.
Yeah.
I mean, the buyer for this
earlier.
house, the buyer for this house is going to be a very specialized buyer who gets it and
loves
wants
horses.
that. Well, yeah, it loves horses. It's going to take a special buyer, and I'm honored that he chose me, and that he trusted me with this beautiful asset.
Do you think you caught the eye because of what you were able to get for the other property a little bit?
I think that had a little bit to do with it. I also think that because of the relationship that was built within the first 30 minutes of he and I speaking, like, again, it's about listening. It's about, being authentic and being yourself and really kind of zoning in on what your customer
You already had
needs.
this solid, high-value listing already, and you weren't seeing him as a dollar sign. You actually dove in to learn about this interesting person, which I can imagine he has to be fairly interesting. Of course, this property has a lot of character to it already, and what he's done with it, I can only imagine. And you took the time to learn why did he do this and why did he do that.
That's
and
right.
the history, because I'm sure they just love to tell the history of their property.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's a wealth of it. There
Yeah.
is a wealth of it, and I think because of kind of understanding where he was coming from or is coming from, I'm able to share that story with others.
Is he a large horse guy? I mean, it didn't look like unless he moved his horses already. Is he?
He never put a horse there.
Are you?
It's brand new, 2019.
It was so clean. It doesn't shock me.
It's clean. There's never been.
And if you looked at the pictures, there wasn't even hay in the stalls, but they're beautiful stalls.
Yep. It is a project of love, and it would be better if I told the story when I'm with someone that really is interested in it, because it's such an intimate and wonderful story. But he has other things that he wants to do, and
Wow. Now, I would imagine the equestrian, because that's equestrian community, other
That's
people have
correct.
horses. They're pretty tight-knit people, because if they do it at a high level, they're traveling around and going here and there. I imagine that's where your referral probably will come from. Somebody's going to tell somebody that's in that equestrian community just by word of mouth that they need to come down and check this property out.
that's right.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
Plus, I mean, going back to Engel and Volkers, it just has that global reach. So we're able to put, luxury listings in front of eyes that, maybe not all brokerages are able to kind of push to that, to that level. I mean,
Yeah,
Engel and Volkers sells yachts. They sell aircrafts. There's a very high subset of buyers.
This could very well be a foreign buyer. This could be someone from overseas, whether they're from Saudi Arabia or England or Germany or something, to come over
That's
for a
right.
property like
That's
this,
right.
because it is such a gem in their little corner of America.
And I know that had a lot to do with, also why he chose, me. It was just, being able to get it in front of the right eyes.
100%. 100%. All right, we're going to finish up. 2-minute warning questions. Is it more important who you know or what you know?
Ooh, I think who you know.
I agree.
I think who you know.
I think wholeheartedly, as you went in and learned the things you were introduced to people who motivated you, gave you confidence, and you then learned what you needed that motivated you to learn. What's your favorite thing to do in Northeast Florida, besides eat at your husband's restaurant?
Yes, go to the beach. We're big beach people, and that's kind of what the best thing to do is around here, in our little town by the sea. Any kind of athletic events. I love football, basketball, anything that has to do with sports, I'm kind of into.
Excellent. Well, Bernadette, I am finished here today. I appreciate hearing your story. Hopefully some of those people out there listening, some new agents, got inspired, but to give you a call.
Yeah.
To tap into your knowledge, your experience, some, like you said, what was the book was Atomic Habits that you just read. Do you think is a must-have? And I would agree. You're not the first person that's told me that just in the last couple of weeks. 100%. But the tap in, give. Whether it's on social media, you want to touch base with her through Facebook like I did, or reach out to her, sit down, I'm sure she'll have coffee with you or whatever, and help you with your business. Maybe you've reached a lid, or maybe you're thinking about getting into the business, and she can give you some of those tips that we weren't able to get them all here.
Yes, I'm just starting to get comfortable now. I'm just
yeah. So I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for inviting me.